Alright, what's up guys? It's King here from Astrano, and today we're going to talk about the shadow self. What is the shadow self, why it's important to talk about, and how to integrate it. So firstly, what is the shadow self? Well, according to Carl Jung, the shadow self is the unconscious parts of the personality that our conscious ego doesn't want to identify in itself. It represents traits of yourself that you think are unpleasant, bad, immoral by society, or parts of your personality you don't consciously recognize. It's the traits that when we first express we're ridiculed, shunned, or met with punishment, and sometimes we also repress positive and life-promoting characteristics. So, the shadow self. Think about it like this. In life, there are things we know. There are things we know we don't know. And there are things we don't know. So, the shadow self lives in that realm of the unknown. You know, the parts of ourselves that we don't see, we don't recognize, we hide from, we run away from, we're ashamed of. You know, the shadow aspect, essentially think of it like a movie. You know how there's a hero and there's a villain. In life, you are both the villain and you are both the hero of your own story. And so what the shadow self is essentially the parts of you that they could be called negative. You know, maybe it's the part of you that's very aggressive, very sexual, very this or very that, you know, like anything that has some sort of negative connotation to it. It could be your shadow, you know. Now, how is the shadow formed? Now, this is just my own take on it. You know, you have to do your own research, but I believe that the shadow is formed through trauma. So I'll give you guys an example. So maybe you're a child and maybe you got bullied or whatever. Maybe you're 7 and then you're a nice kid, you're just trying to play, and all of a sudden some new kid punches you in the face, takes your toy and runs off. And now you're scared. Now that playfulness is gone inside of you because now the world is not safe to play. And now as you grow older, you're 7, you're 8, 9, and you still haven't processed that event, that situation that happened where you got punched in the face. It could build up to something else. It could build up to, you could become very aggressive as a person, or you could become very shy. It could go both ways. And so this is just my theory, right? Because when we take away, when we look at that part of ourselves that was hurt and we don't know how to express it, maybe it's very traumatizing that we shove it down really deep, that we created this hole, this gap that we now use substance, drugs, alcohol to soothe, to fill, because it's a void inside that we have created. Now we try to look at the outside, the external forces to soothe it in and to put something inside that void, right? Take everything that I said with a grain of salt. But why is it important to talk about the shadow self? It's because if you're not aware of the shadow could run your life. We have the conscious mind and we have the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, and most of the time, only 5% is the conscious mind. The rest of our living life is subconscious, our habits, our way of thinking, the way we respond to things. And so it's important to be aware of the shadow self because it's usually a big part of our life. Now, how do you integrate the shadow? Well, there's different things that you can do. You could get a coach. You can Google shadow self coaches. You can find them online. They can guide you along the way. Or you could do 3 things that I have found to be helpful for me and for other people. So the first one is through meditation. It's very simple. You find a quiet space, you go into a relaxed state, you sit down, you lay down on your back, and you just first relax your body. In a couple minutes, when you're relaxed the body, you go into the heart space, and then you concentrate on the heart, open the heart, and you welcome the shadow self. You close your eyes and you imagine, okay, shadow self, show me a part of you right now. Show me something I need to see, I need to work through. And you could be, your mind could bring you back to a memory when that shadow self was created, or when that shadow self was expressed. And sometimes, all you need to do is to give that love and acceptance. And the shadow self could be things that you could, parts of you that you were very guilty of doing, you were very ashamed of doing, all that part, everything that comes up, give it love and acceptance. That is how you integrate the shadow in your life. That is how you bring it in the game, by seeing it, accepting it, and looking at it and seeing, okay, it's there, and you just use it when you need it. And the thing is, why you need to integrate it, it's because you become whole. You are light and dark. It's the duality of life, right? Integrating the shadow will make you a wholesome person. Now, the second part that I think for me personally is very, very helpful is taking step backs and using triggers and teachers. So there's two things. When you get triggered by something, you take a step back, and then you go in and ask yourself, what happened there? What caused this emotion to come up? And most of the time it could be a memory or not memory, but yes, it could be a memory of the past that is repeating itself in the moment, and your subconscious is just like, hey, this is the exact moment back then, you can work on it right now. And so, whenever you get triggered, that is an opportunity to work on that shadow integration. Instead of reacting, now you can take a step back and take a breath. Whoa, this just happened. Now you can move forward, bringing in the light instead of the shadow with love, And so to summarize it, the shadow self is the aspect of us that we are not aware of. Why it's important? Well, obviously you want to be aware of who you are, self-awareness. And the third part, how to integrate it, is through meditation, taking a step back, and remembering that triggers are teachers. Hope this one helps. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned.